Hey everyone, this is Christian Heimel, host of Press Row. Thanks so much for listening to the following broadcast, courtesy of Public House Media.
This is Keith Haney, host of Film Session with Haney and Dewitz here on Public House Media. Thanks for listening to the following broadcast on Public House Media, and once you're done with this episode, I hope you'll come and check out my show, Film Session, where we talk about movies, sports, Hollywood, the sports world, and how it all wraps up into one. A new show comes out every other Friday. Don't forget to subscribe on iTunes so you'll never miss an episode of Film Session with Haney and Dewitz. Thanks again for checking out the following broadcast on Public House Media.
Hey everyone, and welcome to Beauties and Headcanons, where we're nerdy and you probably are too. This is Emily, and I'm here again this week with Sam Kirby of Cinema Stories here on Public House Media, and we're here to talk nerdy to you.
Me again, Emily. Yeah, I'm excited to talk about the latest DCEU film, Justice League.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. I was super excited to see this one, especially since I don't know a whole ton about DC. So I'm excited to kind of share what my perspective is as I'm kind of growing in the DC universe here.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of DC.
Awesome.
So, it's going to be awesome talking about it with you.
Great. So let's, I guess, start off just an overall impression of the movie. Personally, I really enjoyed the movie as a whole. It had some nice little glimpses of humor here and there. I thought it was, compared to Marvel, which is what I'm more familiar with, it was a little on the darker side. It just had a darker tone in general, and visually it was a little darker, which is what I expected from DC compared to Marvel. But the humor kind of lightened things up a little bit, and sometimes was really unexpected, which I enjoyed too. And I really enjoyed, because I was a little worried about this, that it did not rely a whole bunch on one character for comic relief. It actually kind of came from everybody in decent doses, which I really, really thought they did a good job on.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I really enjoyed the movie, too. Like you were saying about how this film is kind of dark. And I heard that you haven't seen Batman versus Superman.
I've not. I know. Yeah. Which probably I would have might have helped with my background info for the movie. We can talk about in a minute here. Yeah.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. But comparatively, Batman versus this movie, it seems like a kid's film compared to Batman vs. Superman. Oh, really? Batman vs. Superman is a very, very dark film in kind of tone and the content it has. But I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed this one. It was very a fun watch, much easier to get through than Batman vs. Superman, which is a bit long and tedious.
Okay.
I really thought the comedy was there for all the characters as well. I think Ezra Miller stood out as Flash with his comedy.
Yeah. Oh, he filled that role really well. And we'll talk about him in a little while, too, because he's a crossover actor from a different fandom. So we'll get to that. Because he's also a nerdy actor, which is fun. But I think he did a great job as the Flash. He was a lot of fun.
Yeah, for sure.
I was worried that he was going to be the only source of comic relief, though. And so I'm really glad that it came from kind of a little bit of everybody.
Oh, yeah. Totally. Even Batman, who's usually a really dark character, had some funny lines in there.
Oh yeah, totally. One of my favorite comedic moments was when they were just all in one of Batman's fancy transportation things, and they were just sitting around and saying, "We're probably gonna die," but Aquaman's like laying his heart out, and come to find out he's got like the lasso of truth on him.
Yeah.
And Batman's like, hey, you should probably check. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Not expected at all, but it was great. That was probably one of my favorite humorous scenes there. That was really fun.
Yeah, for sure. I really enjoyed the scene when Batman, when Superman sees Batman for the first time, and Superman asks him, "Do you bleed?" And then he punches him, and then later on, Batman says he does bleed. He was bleeding, and I thought that was a funny callback because in the trailer for Batman versus Superman, people were kind of making fun of it a little bit because it was so dark. Because Batman asks Superman, "Do you bleed?" And I thought they played on that well. It was really self-referential, and I thought
nice,
very funny.
It ties things together, which is fun. Yeah. But I do have to say, Wonder Woman in this one in Justice League was just fantastic.
Oh, she was so great.
She was great in her own movie, and then she kind of stepped it up a level to become like almost like a leader role in Justice League. She kind of like saved the day every once in a while, and it was really awesome.
Yeah, for sure. What I really love about Wonder Woman is that a lot of the DC characters are very brooding, and all of them have all of them have emotional, dramatic moments, but she just keeps such a lighthearted, friendly tone throughout the whole thing, and just so enjoyable to watch. Such a different kind of tone than the other
No,
heroes.
You're totally right. She's definitely more of like a sunny side up kind of hero, which is good because, like you said, the other heroes in DC tend to have more of a darker side to them. You know, I mean, when we first were introduced to Aquaman, I'm like, okay, he's a dark character too. So's Batman. Okay, and Cyborg. Is like, I thought he wasn't going to leave the apartment for a while.
Oh yeah, for sure, yeah.
But I mean, like, yeah, Wonder Woman is definitely like the bright side of things, and you know, she kind of takes charge and goes through, you know, what needs to get done.
Yeah, for sure. And just like her interacting with the characters, like I really liked her kind of chemistry with Cyborg. She was very very welcoming to him, and like he didn't really experience that before. And I really enjoyed the dynamic, which was happy at some times and kind of intense at other times with her and Batman.
Yeah,
was whenever they were on screen, Affleck and Godot, I think they're great actors. I think they really shined together. Yeah.
I was actually really pleased with how well Ben Affleck did Batman. And you know, not to say that I've seen a ton of Batman movies, because I know there've been a ton of Batman movies, but I was nervous when I heard he was cast as Batman for Batman versus Superman, which again I haven't seen, but he fit what I expected to see as Batman. You know,
for sure.
Yeah, so he did a really great job, and Gal Gadot does a fantastic job as Wonder Woman. She just really understands, I think, who Wonder Woman is, which is fantastic.
Yeah, I remember back when they first announced Ben Affleck's casting, and a lot of people were very against it.
Yeah, they were upset.
Oh yeah, for sure. But when I think people are saying that he's one of the best incarnations that we have of Batman. Wow. And Batman versus Superman, it's a very divisive movie, but I think everyone agrees that Ben Affleck as Batman is the best part of the movie.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I really
and it
like
makes
Ben
me
Affleck
want to see the movie even more, even though I heard it was kind of on the sketch side as far as movies go. But I'd still be interested to see it, especially for the backstory, because backstory is my thing. Like, I love backstory.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but it was still.
That was you're totally right. Yeah, with the backstory, like that's what I think. That's what I really enjoy about Wonder Woman. How it just set up her character, and now just all this backstory about her, and now we really get to see her shine in this one because we know everything.
No, exactly. And they did mention some things from her title movie, you know, some things from her past that kind of played into the way she acted in Justice League too, which was really cool.
Yeah, for sure.
I did notice, though, the way that Wonder Woman was like shot or staged, I guess, in some of her scenes, they were a little bit more flaunty than in Wonder Woman, which is probably just due to different direction, because she had a different director for Wonder Woman than there was for Justice League.
Yeah, for sure. I noticed that too throughout the movie, and I think Patty Jenkins did just a wonderful job showing this very heroic feminine character, and you can definitely tell different directors, but I definitely noticed that a little bit. And
I don't think it was terribly distracting. It was just a different perspective, I think, than, you know, just a different director seeing Wonder Woman slightly in a different way. And I feel I need to just mention the armor on the Amazons. It seemed to be that I'm going to call them the officers of the Amazons, the like higher ranking ones, had really nice armor on that seemed a little bit more practical. But the ones that were just like the average regular fighters had just like hardened leather bikinis on, basically. And that kind of was not the best plan, I feel like. And in Wonder Woman, they had a little bit better coverage, I feel like, than in this one. So I that's probably, again, a difference in direction there, but I don't know that was all that necessary to change.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Because a few days prior to seeing Justice League, I saw an article about the different Amazonian outfits. Yeah, and I was thinking, it is a different director, but is it really needed? Is it practical? Is it needed, or are you just kind of going for that kind of aesthetic? But
yeah.
Definitely not necessary. But yeah,
it's a I think directional choice kind of deal. And I prefer the ones from Patty Jenkins' movies. So
I agree. Yeah. She handled it very subtly and just handled it well. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. I have nothing else to add. He handled it very well. Also, I just really loved Bruce Wayne's epic Mercedes. That was fantastic.
Oh yeah, I noticed cool. that. I noticed that too. I went to the movie with my roommate, and once that car showed up, I made a comment like, "I wish that was my car." Nice. That was the slickest looking car.
Oh, I know. Wow. Oh yeah, that one was fantastic. I loved it. So, all right. Now let's see how this one relates to other DC movies. You were mentioning that Man of Steel and Batman versus Superman in this one were kind of all tied together. And, I was seeing that someplace else as I was doing a little bit of background for this episode too. So Man of Steel has the same Superman as Batman versus Superman and Justice League. Why did I forget the name of the movie we're talking about? But has the same actor for Superman. And spoiler alert, Superman comes back in Justice League.
He does. Yeah, the reason I like this incarnation of Superman is that in the two Batman vs Superman and Man of Steel, he was kind of a darker hero. There's a lot of controversy, and when he comes back, it's kind of awkward a little bit the way he's brought back and the way he acts at first. But some of the quips he has and the fact that he goes and races the Flash, which was that was a great bit.
Yes, that was the mid-credits little tag in the middle of the credits there.
Yeah, and just like how he wanted to go, he was in the middle of the fight, and then he wanted to go off and save the people instead of fighting. I thought that was very Christopher Reeves, how from the old Superman movies. I'm like, this is the incarnation of Superman that we've been waiting for.
That's awesome, yeah. And I haven't seen Man of Steel or Batman versus Superman, so I didn't know how he acted in those movies, so I wasn't sure what to expect from him in Justice League, or if he was going to be in Justice League at all. I'm like, what are they going to do in Justice League if Superman's not around? Because I knew Superman died. I mean, and at the beginning, there were the paper headings that said Superman is dead and blah, 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 and they showed Lois Lane all depressed and sad, and Superman's mom all sad and things. And then I mean, her Earth mom, her adoptive mom, I guess you should say. But, so we were all like, oh yeah, Superman's dead. But why would Lois Lane be in the movie for such an extended time if they weren't going to bring Superman back?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think, I guess to me, as somebody who hadn't seen Batman versus Superman, the bringing back of Superman seemed kind of disjointed because I didn't know how things were left between, or among all of the different things that went down in Batman versus Superman. And so I didn't know like the dynamic at all. And so bringing Superman back, I'm like, okay, is Batman like mad at him for being back? Because it was kind of Batman's idea to bring him back, but he, some other people were like, I don't know if this is the best plan. And then I wasn't sure how Superman was going to feel about Batman bringing him back. And, so I was a little bit lost as far as that went because I didn't know the background.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I think that has a lot to do with the direction of the film. Because in the other two films, because the story behind the direction of Justice League is that Zack Snyder was kind of the architect of the whole DC extended universe. He did Man of Steel and Batman versus Superman, and he's known for his dark direction, kind of. Okay. And but once the first cut or halfway through the cut, I'm not sure exactly, but Zack Snyder suffered a family tragedy.
Oh, so that's why. I knew he stepped down for some reason. I just wasn't sure what the reason was.
Yeah. So they brought in Joss Whedon, who actually directed the Avengers, Marvel's big crossover.
That's oh my goodness. And there's other things that Joss Whedon has done we'll talk about in a little bit here too. But yeah, I was actually surprised to see that Joss Whedon was in the credits too. I'm like, I didn't know he had anything to do with this.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, Joss Whedon, I think that has a lot to do with the comedy and the more lighthearted Superman, I guess you could say. And Snyder's dynamic with Batman and Superman in the last film, it was very dark until the end. So I would agree that watching Batman versus Superman, it still felt a bit disjointed how everything happened.
So even though you saw Batman versus Superman, the whole coming back of Superman still seemed a bit pieced together.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I was just me as a viewer trying to figure that out. I wasn't sure how much background was necessary for that part, but I'm like, you know what? It's going to be a good movie anyway, so I'm going to check it out, which I did. And yeah. So yeah, it did feel a little bit kind of PC. But tying into other DC movies, though, Wonder Woman was mentioned in there, and that tied in really well, I think. I'm excited to see how things relate in the future, because I know that Aquaman is coming out next year, which is awesome. Super excited about that one. And then The Flash has his own movie that's scheduled to be coming near future-ish time, too. So that's exciting as well. And so I'm excited to see how those tie in together as a part of the universe too.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the ways that Justice League ties into the other films. Even if it wasn't like the most subtle at parts, I do enjoy a lot of the back and forth that call back to the other film, Batman versus Superman. The stuff with Wonder Woman though, and some of the things that Batman says about Steve Trevor's her love interest in the Wonder Woman solo movie. You don't say that to Wonder Woman.
No, I was like, oh, he just went there.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, but the way it ties in, I really think I'm really excited for the future of the DC Extended Universe. Very excited for it.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, those are going to be some great things to look forward to. And we already kind of talked about the actors and actresses in their roles as Justice League members, but there are a couple characters that are known for other things other than Justice League. So Ezra Miller, who was the Flash, was recently in Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. He played a character named Credence, and I don't know if you've seen this one, but it was definitely a completely different character entirely.
Oh yeah, for sure. I have to say I have not seen many Harry Potter movies.
Okay.
I've never got super into it. I know that that's a thing that I probably should look into.
It's okay. Yeah. Well, a good thing with Fantastic Beasts is you don't need to know much about the Harry Potter world to jump in on Fantastic Beasts, because this is before Harry Potter even existed.
Yeah, that's awesome, because that was kind of one of the things holding me back from seeing it. But I'm glad I know that now.
Yeah. So yeah, you can feel free to watch Fantastic Beasts, and there's not going to be any Harry Potter spoilers or anything or whatever. The only thing that is kind of similar is that there's a British guy, and they talk about Dumbledore a little bit.
I know the basics of Dumbledore.
Yeah, so that's really the only thing that crosses over to actual Harry Potter. It's just J.K. Rowling's world, so that's cool. But in Fantastic Beasts, Ezra Miller plays a character named Credence, who is very, very troubled. He is in an adoptive home, and his mother is basically like anti-magical anything, and so she's like out to get the magical people in America. She's in New York City. They're living in New York City. And so she's like on a crusade trying to get rid of all of the witches and wizards because she thinks they're from the devil. Basically. And
that's interesting.
Yeah. And so Credence is her oldest son. And I'm not sure I don't remember if he's a natural born son of hers or if she adopted him, but she's abusive to him because she thinks that he is in some way related to magic. And it turns out he is. I don't want to give too much away, but he plays a very troubled boy. He's like in his upper teens, maybe. in the movie, and it seems like if you were to see him out of context, he would look like to you like he was on the autism spectrum or in that sort of world.
I see.
So he is very like non-conversational. People skills are out the window. Like he has no idea how to interact, and he's very scared. Like he is very severely abused. And so Ezra Miller playing that type of character was how I knew him first.
Okay.
That was my introduction to him. And now him playing the Flash is so completely different.
Yeah, for sure. The first time I saw Ezra Miller was, I believe it was 2013 or maybe 2010, I'm not sure. There was a movie called The Perks of Being a Wallflower.
Oh, I saw that one too. He was in
yeah. Oh yeah, he was. He was the friend who played Rocky in the Rocky Horror Picture Show kind of section of the movie.
Okay.
But yeah, he's in it throughout, and he really gives a really good really thought-provoking performance in that one.
Okay.
And that was my first kind of introduction to him. And fun fact also, Ezra Miller was in The Perks of Being a Wallflower, and one of the primary songs in that movie was Heroes by David Bowie, and that one was used in the advertising of Justice League as well. So it all ties together.
That does. And Emma Watson was in Perks of Being a Wallflower, who is from the Harry Potter world.
Oh, I didn't even think of that.
Yes. Oh wow, that's too funny how those are all connected. Wow. But yeah, I was really impressed with his acting, because if he can play a character like Credence from Fantastic Beasts and then completely flip it around and be this like really energetic, lively, like inexperienced superhero kid, like that's awesome. And he's also going to be in the next Fantastic Beasts movie, which was just announced last week. What the title is? It's I'm forgetting it now. The Crimes of Grindelwald, who is a character that we're introduced to right at kind of at the beginning of Fantastic Beasts, and we see who he is at the very end of that movie. And I'm excited about that one coming out too. So yeah, and
for sure, I'm
not sure how timeline wise those two movies are going to play out to each other. Just based on Credence as a character in Fantastic Beasts, the first one, and him being in the second one. I'm not sure how that's going to work based on how the first movie turned out, but you have to see that for yourself. I'm not going to tell you what happened.
Yeah.
So,
for sure.
But he is in both of them. So that's exciting, because he's a fantastic actor from what I've seen.
Oh, he is. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Also, I don't know if a lot of people realize that Jason Momoa isn't just from Khal Drogo from Game of Thrones. He was Aquaman in Justice League, and he was most recently Khal Drogo in Game of Thrones. He also is in a show right now called Frontier, where he plays a like really rugged fur trader guy who's trying to upset the British fur trade monopoly. So he's kind of like he calls himself, he's a savage in that show. It's called Frontier. It's a Netflix show, which is really interesting. It's kind of like a serious period show, but it's very I would say it's a mature show. But he was also, before he was Khal Drogo and in Frontier and all this, he was on a super awesomely nerdy show called Stargate Atlantis.
Yeah.
Now, Atlantis, he's, as Aquaman, he's the king of Atlantis. But before he was the king of Atlantis, he played a character called Ronan Dex in Stargate Atlantis, and he worked at Atlantis in the show. So it's kind of funny, because he was like a space explorer / like he was the muscle, basically, in this show. So if you have not heard of the Stargate shows, the TV series, there's several of them. Stargate SG-1 is the first one, and then Stargate Atlantis starts within like the 8th or 9th season of Stargate SG-1, so they overlap with each other.
Okay.
And then Stargate Atlantis and Stargate Universe is the final show that I don't know if it necessarily connects to Stargate Atlantis or what, but I haven't finished Atlantis yet to find out. So if you haven't seen that, listeners especially, I highly recommend looking into Stargate. They're actually kind of doing a revival of the Stargate world as well, called Stargate Origins, which is pretty awesome too. But I just find it funny that Jason Momoa as an actor already played somebody in Atlantis in a different setting, like completely different setting, because Atlantis is a different It's in a different galaxy from the Milky Way, and it's on a completely different planet. So it's just completely way out there. I love what Stargate does with mythology and history and stuff. It's kind of interesting how they tie stuff together and make it into a completely different interpretation than what we think of it as. Stargate's really cool with that. But then there's also Aquaman the movie that's going to be coming out next year that I'm really excited about, with Jason Momoa playing Aquaman again here. I thought he did a fantastic job playing the epic big guy, like the macho man kind of deal.
Yeah.
I mean, he didn't have a ton of, he was kind of even keel throughout Justice League, which is fine. As a collective movie, where there's a bunch of different heavy hitter characters all together, it's kind of hard to see the full scale of each character all the time, and so I think it's okay that in Justice League Aquaman was kind of level and one-dimensional for now, because he's going to have his own movie coming out, so we don't really know him yet.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
but he did do a really good job, and he added a little humor here and there, which was fun too.
Yeah, he was very funny, very funny in this movie. I liked when Commissioner Gordon actually says that he's happy to see Batman working with others. Yeah. And then what did Aquaman said that he dresses like a bat and he digs it.
Yeah, I love
and then
that.
Batman says it might be temporary.
Yes, exactly. That was great.
Just the character interactions were a really strong part of the movie.
Oh yeah. I think the characters themselves just started to get along really well once they kind of started working together, got to know each other a little bit.
Yeah.
And then, like I mentioned earlier, one of my favorite comedic sections was when Aquaman was actually holding the lasso of truth and was just laying his heart out to everybody. He looks at each character and says what he thinks of them, like exactly what he thinks of them.
Yeah, I was so confused for a second. I'm like, oh, okay.
I'm like, what? Why would he even oh, that's great. I love it.
Yeah, for sure.
So that was hilarious. And then another crossover we mentioned earlier, Joss Whedon also did Avengers, which is a cool crossover, but he also wrote Buffy the Vampire Slayer and a show called Firefly, which got canceled by Fox way too early, and a lot of people are upset about it, including me. So no hate for if you haven't heard of Firefly before, but Firefly was basically 14 episodes of really, really awesomeness that Joss Whedon planned out tons in advance, and Fox basically messed up. But we can talk about that in a whole entire different episode, because there's a lot to talk about, even though there's only 14 episodes of it. Honestly, we could probably do an episode on each episode of Firefly, and there'd still be more to talk about. But it's a fantastic show. If you can ever get a chance to check it out, make sure you watch it correctly, because Fox did not air the episodes in the order they were intended to, and that's kind of why it flopped.
Yeah,
it's kind of upsetting and sad. But Joss Whedon did a great job with Avengers and with Buffy and with Firefly, and I think he also did a great job with Justice League too.
Yeah. Definitely for being brought in with another guy's movie and like trying to recut it and stuff. I think that he was really the most enjoyable thing that we could have gotten. Yeah,
no, exactly. I think he added a lot to what was left behind by Snyder. He kind of tied things together, made things cohesive in a way. And I don't know how much he did after Snyder left, but I think you mentioned in your episode on Tuesday that you can kind of see Joss Whedon's fingerprints throughout the movie, which is cool.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And off topic a little bit here.
Yeah.
What Warner Brothers did with this movie was that was very interesting. They gave Joss Whedon a mandate that it had to be under 2 hours. And the original cut of the film was 2 hours and 45 minutes.
Oh my goodness!
Which is huge. Which is very like
Lord of the Rings stuff there.
Yeah. So the fact that he managed cutting it down to get anything positive out of that's very impressive.
That is very impressive, because I think the total runtime was 1 hour and 58 minutes.
Yeah.
So he did some good work there, actually making a cohesive story when cutting out 47 minutes of movie.
Yeah.
That's really awesome. Yeah. So based on what we've seen from the movie, I know obviously we know of some more DC movies that are going to be coming out, but we haven't quite talked about the little Easter egg at the end after all the credits yet, which I think has a huge implication. I just don't know what, because I don't know much about the DC world. So, so I've already said I'm excited for Aquaman. I'm also excited for the Flash movie, because both of those are going to provide backstory for characters that I know very little about, and I love backstory.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's my thing, man. If I get a juicy piece of backstory, like, oh my goodness, that's fantastic. It's great.
For sure. Yeah, it really helps though when you have the solo movies, they build up the characters, so then when they have the crossover movies, they can just have fun and focus on the story.
No, exactly. Which is why I think Batman and Superman and Wonder Woman kind of stood out among the heroes that were in Justice League.
Yeah.
Because they already had their own movies. So we already knew who they were. We already understood their characters. And then the Flash, Aquaman, and Cyborg, we didn't know a whole lot about them yet. And so we were still kind of trying to figure them out as Justice League went on.
Yeah, Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman were definitely the most fleshed out in this movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not to say the other characters are very enjoyable as well.
Oh yeah, totally. We just didn't know much about them, so now we're getting to know them, and then when they get their own movies, we'll know them even better. Which is why I love backstory.
For sure.
Yeah. So at the very end here, the Easter egg ended with Lex Luthor in a prison, and they were letting him out. Mm-hmm. And then the next scene kind of cut to a big yacht. And there was this guy in heavy armor walking up to, who I also would assume to be Lex Luthor, sitting on like a sofa on the couch. And they were having this discussion. And Luthor said something, blah, 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 Wilson, we need to have a league of our own. And I'm like, Wilson? Where have I heard Wilson before? Slade Wilson, who is Deathstroke from the show The Arrow, and also in the DC universe as well, I assume. He's one of the villains from Green Arrow, and so that's a CW show that I've seen on Netflix as well. Seems like he's going to team up with Lex Luthor and kind of create sort of an evil league of evil kind of deal, which would be different than Suicide Squad, though.
Yeah, for sure. I believe the scientific name for that evil league is the Justice League Dark. Oh, I may be wrong.
Okay.
But yeah, that's the movie that they might do over there at Warner Brothers. So that would be really exciting to watch the characters play off of each other. And what a lot of people don't know is that Deadpool, who is from Marvel, who is Wade Wilson, was actually kind of a riff on Slade Wilson and kind of a spoof on him. So yeah, for sure. So that's why their names sound alike and their designs are similar.
Yep.
So it's very funny.
Oh, that is funny. Now Wade Wilson, he has a whole nother dimension to him now. How that's great. So Lex Luthor says they need a league of their own, might be called Justice League Dark.
Yes.
Yeah. So anything else to add on?
Oh, for sure. In one scene where they were doing a flashback to a battle many years ago, there was a Green Lantern fighting in the battle.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
I do remember that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was awesome. That was awesome to see, just as a fan of DC Comics, and just to get the promise that we might get an upcoming Green Lantern movie is very, very exciting. Which
is also kind of funny because the most recent Green Lantern movie was Ryan Reynolds, same actor that was Deadpool.
Yeah, which it all connects.
Yes, it does all connect.
Yeah, very excited to see the prospects of just all the heroes getting together.
Yeah, that would be fantastic. Now, I do remember, and this was a very vague reference, maybe you can help me out with that, when Steppenwolf was talking about something about the dark side, and I'm like, why is he referencing Star Wars?
For sure.
It seemed really weird and out of place, like they were maybe nodding to Star Wars, but I have a feeling that's not the case.
No, that is not. So basically, who Steppenwolf is the villain, he is kind of like the henchman, kind of like the second in command to the big DC villain, kind of the Thanos from Marvel.
Sure, like the overarching like bad guy behind the bad guys sort of thing.
And that is Darkseid, and his name is not spelled with 2 words. It is spelled Dark and then SEID.
So it's all one word, and it's like a weird different language ending kind of thing.
Yes.
Gotcha.
So it looks like that he's going to be the next big bad guy for the universe. So
that
I'm
is
getting excited about that.
Because I mean, I don't know if Lex Luthor is even at that level where Darkseid must be even bigger than that, and even bigger than Justice League Dark, if that's what it's going to be called. So that is another thing, which means there's probably going to be a huger like storyline. I really hope that they have some kind of big contiguous plot that happens at some point.
Yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, I also really enjoyed at the end of your podcast how you were saying, maybe you might like this movie, you might not like this movie, but no matter what other critics say, just watch what you want to watch and enjoy it because you enjoy it.
Yeah, for sure.
Like that. That's really good advice.
Thank you for sure. Yeah, because I think there's like a lot of like stigma around like critics and stuff, and I think it's good because I'm a film student, so I really love like analyzing like what goes into making a movie, the camera work, all that stuff. But at the end of the day, just you can like take in what they say, but at the end of the day, just do what you like, love what like what you like watching.
Exactly.
Because for sure,
everybody is able to make their own opinions, and I think of it this way: like if you go to see a movie or you don't go to see a movie based on what a critic says, you just let them make your decision for you.
Oh, exactly. Yeah,
so
exactly.
Make your own decisions about it, people.
For sure. I also think it's the best to see the movie, then give your opinion on it, not prejudge or say, oh, that movie was terrible, and you haven't even seen it. You just listen to what some critics said.
Exactly.
So definitely watch what you want to watch, then analyze it kind of, but just keep having fun with what you like doing.
Exactly. And that's how I've tried to think about it too. Anywho, that's all we've got for today. Go ahead and share your thoughts about Justice League with us on our Facebook page, Beauties and Headcanons, or we actually just started up a Twitter that's at beauties_canons. And we also have a Tumblr page, Beauties and Headcanons, all one word, all letters. Different from our Facebook page, which is Beauties and Headcanons. So our Tumblr is Beauties and Headcanons, all one word. So you can find us on those social media outlets. Also, tune in next week and every Friday for a new episode. Next week is going to be on a Star Wars 7 theory. So we're going to be discussing that, kind of leading into Star Wars The Last Jedi coming out in December. Super exciting. Go ahead and subscribe to us on Spreaker, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, Google Play Music, and on iTunes. We'd love to have a review and a rating so we can see how we're doing. And thanks to everybody who's been listening ever since we started up for the past few months here. Honestly, I can't believe we've been a show for this long already. It's been 4 months, almost 5. It's crazy. I'm just really, really pleased with how things have been going. So thanks to everybody who's been listening to the show. Also, a huge thank you to Public House Media for even making this show possible at all. Go ahead and check them out on Facebook and Twitter at The PH Media, or their website at thephmedia.com to stay up to date on this podcast and the network, because they're adding tons of shows. So keep up to date on that. I'm Emily, and thanks for getting nerdy with us on Beauties and Headcanons.